Welcome to True Crime Stories. Let's look at the facts of this case.
It is just before dawn in the Hollywood Hills in July 1981. The city below glows in scattered light, a grid that never fully goes dark. A warm breeze moves through palm fronds along a narrow, winding road. At the end of a cul-de-sac, a small house sits behind a low wall and a metal gate. Inside, music has stopped. By sunrise, 8763 Wonderland Avenue will be circled on news maps across Los Angeles. The city in the early 1980s moves on two tracks at once. There is the public version of Hollywood, studios, premieres, billboards, and red carpets. There is also a quieter economy that runs after midnight. Cash transactions, narcotics distribution, nightclub backrooms, and houses where people come and go without paperwork. In the hills above Sunset Boulevard, those two worlds often overlap. On July 1st, 1981, Los Angeles Police Department officers respond to a call from a friend who has come to check on the residents of the Wonderland house after not hearing back from them. The front door does not open easily. Officers enter and move through a small living room. 4 people lie inside, severely beaten. Ron Launius, William Billy DeVeril, Barbara Richardson. All 3 are pronounced unalive at the scene. Susan Launius is still breathing when paramedics arrive. She is transported to a hospital in critical condition. A quiet hillside address becomes an active crime scene. Detectives secure the property. Photographs are taken. Blood patterns are documented. Neighbors are interviewed along the curved road. The house, modest and tucked against the hillside, now carries the weight of multiple unalivings. The brutality is evident. Clarity is not. Investigators begin reconstructing the hours before dawn. They learn that the people living at Wonderland Avenue are connected to narcotics distribution. Cocaine and cannabis move through their circle, passing between small dealers and larger suppliers in Los Angeles nightlife. The case does not appear random. It appears connected. The timeline leads back 2 nights to June 29th, 1981. Ron Launius and Billy DeVeril had gone to a nearby home on Lookout Mountain Avenue. The residence belongs to Eddie Nash, a nightclub owner and figure known in Los Angeles for his role in the city's after-hours economy. Something happens inside Nash's home. According to later accounts, Launius and DeVeril force their way in, assault Nash, and leave with drugs and money. The robbery is not quiet. It moves quickly through the network that connects clubs, dealers, and private residences in the hills. In that network, reputation carries value. Retaliation carries weight. Within hours of the robbery, attention turns back toward Wonderland Avenue. Susan Launius survives long enough to speak with investigators. Her statement indicates that people connected to Nash may have come to the house in the early morning hours. Her account becomes a central piece of the investigation. But the path forward does not follow a straight line. As detectives examine the relationships between those involved, another name surfaces repeatedly: John Holmes, known publicly as an adult film actor who rose to prominence in the 1970s. Holmes is also known within drug circles as someone who moves between groups. He had been present at Eddie Nash's home the night of the robbery. He is also connected to the residents of Wonderland Avenue. Holmes occupies a space between worlds. Investigators question him. His statements shift over time. At points, he says he does not remember what happened. At other times, he acknowledges being present with individuals who later went to Wonderland. He describes fear and pressure from people in Nash's circle. The case begins to resemble a web rather than a single thread. Physical evidence at the crime scene provides limited direction. There are no clear fingerprints tying a suspect directly to the interior of the house. No definitive weapon is recovered that can be linked to a specific person. The violence is severe, but the forensic trail is fragmented. The investigation moves toward motive. Prosecutors develop a theory centered on retaliation. The robbery at Nash's home, the assault against him, and the theft of drugs and cash provide a potential reason for revenge. Detectives consider whether individuals loyal to Nash went to Wonderland to send a message. In 1982, Eddie Nash and Gregory Diles are charged in connection with the unalivings. The courtroom fills with reporters. The case has already become part of Hollywood lore, an intersection of nightlife, narcotics, and celebrity. The prosecution outlines its sequence of events. The robbery at Lookout Mountain Avenue, the anger that followed, the alleged decision to confront the men at Wonderland. John Holmes testifies for the prosecution under a plea agreement related to separate charges. He tells the jury he was pressured to lead attackers to the house. Holmes's credibility becomes a central issue. The defense points to his history of drug use. They highlight inconsistencies in his statements. They emphasize the absence of conclusive physical evidence tying Nash or Diles to the scene inside the house. The jury listens to weeks of testimony. The verdict returns. Not guilty. Charges are dismissed. A high-profile prosecution ends without convictions for the Wonderland unalivings. The criminal case does not close with resolution. It settles into a different category, unsolved in public perception, legally concluded in court. John Holmes's health declines in the years that follow. He dies in 1988. Key figures in the narrative fade from the record without ever being convicted for the events on Wonderland Avenue. In 1990, a separate federal case brings Eddie Nash back into court on racketeering and related charges. He is convicted on certain counts tied to corruption and drug distribution. The Wonderland murders remain outside that verdict. The hillside changes gradually. Houses are renovated. Gates are replaced. The view over Los Angeles shifts as new buildings rise in the basin below. The address on Wonderland Avenue changes hands. The small living room where 4 people were attacked becomes part of the structure's past. Los Angeles continues to move on 2 tracks. Clubs open and close. Names rise and fall in the entertainment industry. The private economy that once linked Nash, Holmes, and the Wonderland residents evolves into new forms. The case becomes material for books and documentaries. Maps are redrawn. Timelines are debated. Witness statements are revisited in interviews years later. Police reports record the condition of the scene. Hospital statements record the words spoken by Susan Launius before her death. Court transcripts preserve testimony that contradicts itself in subtle but important ways. The file contains motive theories and procedural history. It does not contain a definitive account accepted by a jury. What remains is a convergence of robbery, retaliation, and reputation in a city where public image and private conducts often intersect. A quiet street above Sunset Boulevard. A house that once held a small group tied together by narcotics and trust. And a case that rests between suspicion and proof. Part of Los Angeles history without a verdict that fully explains what happened before dawn on July 1st, 1981.